Now, hours after arrest, Union Minister and BJP leader Narayan Rane gets bail in the slapped Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray remark case. Rane was given bail last night by the Magistrates Court in Raigad, but trouble doesn't seem to end for the minister as Nashik police has summoned him to appear before them on the 2nd of September. Mumbai police have now registered a total of 42 FIRs in connection with Rane's Jan Ashirwad Yatra. Rane would be moving the Bombay High Court to quash these FIRs. In fact, Rane's remarks has led to a spate of protests by unruly Shiv Sena workers across Maharashtra who clashed with the BJP workers. In fact, the cops have now charged Rane for promoting animosity, intent to incite violence, criminal intimidation and many other scathing charges. While speaking to India Today, a defiant Narayan Rane said that Maharashtra government was scared of him due to the successful Jan Ashirwad Yatra.
सत्ता का पूरा दुरुपयोग है, ये राजकीय राइवली है, दंडुकेशाही है, तानाशाही है। एक वाक्य का एक दृष्टि से पूरा गलत अर्थ निकालकर केंद्रीय मिनिस्टर, कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर को गिरफ्तारी करना यह महाराष्ट्र के इतिहास में पहली बार हो रहा है।
Well, here you have Narayan Rane, who's defiant, saying his Jan Ashirwad Yatra was so successful, which is why the Maharashtra government is now fearing the prospects of the BJP. Now, we do know that at least 42 FIRs in connection with Rane's Jan Ashirwad Yatra has been filed. In fact, Rane is all set to be moving the Bombay High Court to quash these FIRs. Now, we do know since yesterday, Rane's remark on slap CM Uddhav Thackeray, the remark has now led to serious clashes between the Shiv Sena workers as well as the BJP workers on ground. You had the clashes brewing right outside the BJP office. Now let me quickly cut across to Akshita, bringing us details on exactly what the Maharashtra government was thinking while filing an FIR and then eventually carrying out an arrest of the Union Minister Narayan Rane.
What explains the aggressive response from the Shiv Sena government and also the protests by Shiv Sena workers against Narayan Rane? Here's what sources have told us, that Narayan Rane time and again attacked Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray after the oath ceremony, and that angered the Shiv Sena, so they were itching to take action against him. Not just that, Narayan Rane also directly took on Aditya Thackeray by dragging in his name in the Sushant Singh Rajput case. Another step that got the Shiv Sena very, very angry. The Chief Minister's office became active after Rane's recent comment where he said he would have slapped Uddhav Thackeray. They decided that this time they would use this to take action against the BJP leader and the Union Minister. Uddhav Thackeray and Aditya Thackeray reportedly decided enough is enough. They wanted to teach Rane a lesson, and that's what led to his arrest as well. Sena's Anil Parab, we understand, is the one who proposed this idea, who said, let's go ahead and ensure numerous FIRs are filed against Narayan Rane and that he can't get away with this kind of a comment against Chief Minister Uddhav. Now that Narayan Rane is out on bail, he was arrested yesterday, he managed to secure bail from court. The CM office, we're being told, has decided not to take any more action because they believe that their point has been made, that they've gone ahead and showed Narayan Rane exactly who's boss.
Meanwhile, you have Shiv Sena's mouthpiece, Samna, that's launched a scathing attack on the Union Minister Narayan Rane for his slap CM Uddhav comment. Sena has now compared Rane to a perforated balloon, claimed that despite being a Union Minister, he behaves like a gangster. The editorial claims that if someone made such comments against Prime Minister Modi, then he or she would have been arrested and booked for sedition. Shiv Sena's mouthpiece, Samna, also claims that Union Minister Rane is behaving like someone has given me a supari for hitting the Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray. Saurabh Vakhtania joining us for more on that. Saurabh, of course, Samna, which is Shiv Sena's mouthpiece, has been unsparing on Narayan Rane, calling him a perforated balloon, all sorts of things on their editorial. Now, of course, we do know that there are 42 FIRs that's been filed against Narayan Rane's Ashirwad Jan Yatra. While that happens, Narayan Rane is all set to move the Bombay High Court. He is currently on bail. He is wanting to quash the FIR. What's the possibility?
Well, the latest is that how there are exchange heated words are still being exchanged between both the parties. We thought that it will get over by today, but that is not happening, Nabila, because Shiv Sena's mouthpiece Samna has attacked in a very different way to Narayan Rane, that he's of no use, he's a puppeted balloon like you mentioned, and lot many more things have been said in the Shiv Sena's editorial mouthpiece Samna. Now, what's the other thing? Let me tell you that Nashik police had sent a notice to Narayan Rane to appear before the police officials within 7 days' time. But what now the Nashik police senior officials are telling us that he has given a written letter to the police officials that he will not tamper with the evidence, nor he will make such statements, and therefore yesterday he was not arrested by the Nashik police. Now, meanwhile, there are total 4 FIRs. The legal team of Narayan Rane have already left from his residence where we are right now present, and they are going to file for quashing of all the FIR. What they have to say is that he was arrested by the Mahad police in the case. All the other FIRs are of the similar IPC sections, and the case does not stand. We are also expecting, Nabila, that Narayan Rane likely to speak after this, the Bombay High Court hearing gets over. But the heated arguments and the war between the Shiv Sena and mainly the BJP leader Narayan Rane continues, and the stage is all set for the upcoming BMC elections.
Thank you very much for joining us with those details, Divyesh. Now, ruling Congress's woes are only mounting in Punjab. With just months left for the assembly elections, the warring Sardars are at it once again. 4 cabinet ministers in Amrinder cabinet and about a dozen Congress MLAs close to Sidhu have openly revolted against the chief minister. Now, a delegation of 5 Congress MLAs, including Punjab Congress General Secretary Pargat Singh, who was camping right there in Delhi, is now moving to Dehradun. They will be meeting with Congress Punjab in charge Harish Rawat next, and after the meeting, these disgruntled MLAs will be coming back to Delhi to be meeting with Congress Chief Sonia Gandhi to appraise her of all the political situations brewing within the state of Punjab. Now, these disgruntled Sidhu loyalists and MLAs are Chipt Rajendra Singh Bajwa, Sukhwinder Sarkaria, Sukhjinder Randhawa, Charanjit Singh Channi and Pargat Singh. In fact, these MLAs openly pitched for removal of Captain Amrinder Singh as Chief Minister, accusing him of failing to fulfill key poll promises. The Chief Minister's camp now, meanwhile, has hit back at the Punjab Congress Chief Sidhu's advisors for their anti-India and anti-Indra comments.
बहुत सारे वादे कांग्रेस पार्टी ने पूरे कीते हैं, लेकिन ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਾਅਦਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਰੋਧੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਟਕਰਾਅ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਉਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੀ ਖੜੇ ਹੈ। ਅੱਜ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਸਲੇ ਹੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ, ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੇਂਦਰ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ।
Let me quickly cut across to Manjeet Sehgal joining us live for more on that. Manjeet, we do know that the Sidhu camp are all set to be meeting with the Congress leadership. What's expected to be discussed? It's quite embarrassing to say the least that despite Navjot Singh Sidhu being elevated to the post of Congress president, it appears it's only resulted in more of a divide than unifying the two of them.
Yes, indeed, Navila. The factionalism in the Punjab Congress has brought fresh embarrassment to the party high command. A group of leaders led by the Punjab Congress Committee General Secretary Pargat Singh is currently meeting Punjab Party Affairs in charge Harish Rawat in Dehradun. This also includes the 4 disgruntled ministers, including Tript Rajendra Singh Bajwa, Charanjit Singh Channi, who had demanded removal of Captain Amrinder Singh, saying that they do not believe in his leadership as he has failed to fulfill the poll promises, so he should be removed to stop the damage being done to the party. On the other, Captain Amrinder Singh's camp is also on the front foot and has demanded the resignation from these ministers, saying that if they are not happy with Captain Amrinder Singh, they should simply step down. The source is telling us that the group of ministers and other leaders who are currently meeting Rawat will be heading to New Delhi to raise similar issues with the party chief Sonia Gandhi. Besides, demanding the removal of Captain Amrinder Singh. They will be pressing upon other demands as well. But Harish Rawat has told media that besides the leadership issues, the another issue which has cropped is the statements being issued by Navjot Singh Sidhu's advisors. Sidhu continues to be silent. The opposition has already demanded registration of criminal cases against Sidhu and his team. A group of captain's loyalists are also demanding action against Sidhu's advisors. So now what remains to be seen is what action will be taken by the party high command.
Manjeet, thank you very much for joining us with those details. We should see whether the Congress now manages to quell dissent ahead of polls, which is just around the corner in Punjab. Meanwhile, BJP has slammed Congress's Rahul Gandhi for returning to Twitter after criticizing the boycotting and social media platform. Rahul Gandhi had tweeted for the first time days after his account was locked and later unlocked for revealing the identity of a minor rape survivor and her family. In his first tweet, Rahul mocked the government's 6 lakh crore asset monetization plan. BJP IT cell chief Amit Malviya compared Rahul's return to Twitter to Jawaharlal Nehru apologizing to the British government and seeking a release from Nabha prison. Malviya lashed out, saying that cowardice runs deep in the Nehru-Gandhi family. Meanwhile, BJP spokesperson Sambit Patra has said that Rahul Gandhi had apologized to Twitter soon after losing access to his Twitter account. Now, as BJP claims that Rahul criticized Twitter, hence boycotted social media giant, let's take a listen in reaction, Rahul's reaction to that when he took on to Twitter right after his account was locked.
A company is making its business to define our politics. And as a politician, I don't like that. This is an attack on the democratic structure of the country. This is not an attack on Rahul Gandhi. This is not, simply shutting Rahul Gandhi down. I have 19, 20 million followers. You're denying them the right to an opinion. They're breaching the idea that Twitter is a neutral platform. And for the investors, this is a very dangerous thing because taking sides in the political contest has repercussions for Twitter. Our democracy is under attack. We're not allowed to speak in parliament. The media is controlled. And I thought there was a ray of light where we could put what we thought on.
Here's some big news coming in. India today accesses Mamata Banerjee government's affidavit submitted to the Supreme Court over the plea against its probe into Snoopgate. The affidavit claims that constitution of Judicial Commission, not parallel investigation. The issue is of public importance and the state has the power to set up a commission to restore public confidence. This will not affect the proceedings pending in the Supreme Court. Now here, remember, Mamata Banerjee has been pushing for investigation into the Pegasus Snoopgate, and the West Bengal government, while it files a plea before the Supreme Court asking for an investigation at the earliest, the affidavit there that's accessed by India today claims that Constitution of Judicial Commission is not a parallel investigation, the issue of public importance, and the state has the power to set up a commission to restore public confidence. Anisha Mathur with more on that. Anisha, take us through what more is in that plea that's been filed before the Supreme Court, asking for an investigation there into the Pegasus Snoopgate. Mamata Banerjee leading that.
Well, Nabila, let me just correct you a little bit there. Mamata Banerjee's government has filed this affidavit in response to a petition that was filed in the Supreme Court, which had said that the state government does not have the authority to start such a commission of inquiry. This PIL that was filed in the Supreme Court, this petition that was filed in the Supreme Court, in fact, challenges the West Bengal government's decision to appoint a commission of inquiry that is headed by a former Supreme Court judge. In response to that petition now, the Supreme Court has been informed by the West Bengal government that the state government does in fact have the authority to start this in such a commission of inquiry, that there is a spyware controversy, and to assure the people of the state that there is no unauthorized interception of the communication made by people residing in the state. That is why the government has said that they have started this commission of inquiry. They've said that the reason why they are defending this is because at the moment there are multiple petitions pending before the Apex Court which have sought an SIT investigation, and one of the arguments being made by the centre against the state starting such a commission of inquiry was that since the Supreme Court is already hearing this issue, the state government have taken such a decision. The state government has now defended itself, saying that their inquiry commission will not interfere with what is going on in the Supreme Court, because this is a sensitive issue. It's a public order and criminal law issue. Therefore, the state does have the authority, and more importantly, this commission of inquiry will enable the state to look into what is happening and put into place effective countermeasures if any foreign rogue software or spyware is being deployed in the state itself. Back to you.
Right, Anisha, thank you very much for joining us with those details. Now, Afghan and Indian officials claim that based on photos and intelligence, Reuters journalist Danish Siddiqui's body was mutilated while in Taliban custody. In fact, right after his death, and which Taliban now denies. According to a top Afghan officer, he was killed after being abandoned with 2 soldiers in the confusion of a retreat. His soldiers withdrew from Spin Baldok and left behind. In fact, Siddiqui was left behind there. 2 commandos accompanying him, mistakenly thinking that they had joined the retreating convoy. Now, a British ballistics expert say that it was evident that he was shot multiple times after he was killed again. Now, having lost 3 consecutive test series in England before this tour, India now to go into the Headingley test full of aspirations. The victory will ensure that no matter what happens in the final 2 tests, India will not lose the series. An unassailable lead awaits Virat Kohli's men if they can trounce England in the leads. Let's take a quick look at this match preview.
After the historic test win at Lord's, an in-form India will look to tighten the noose around England when the 2 sides face off at Headingley.
Incredible finish to this game.
Virat Kohli's men pulled off one of the greatest comebacks to trounce the 3 Lions on an epic final day at the Lord's. And now India can take an unassailable lead if they win the 3rd test. Kohli, though, will be looking to overcome his lean patch in the 3rd test. The Indian captain has not scored an international 100 since 2019 and has looked vulnerable around the off-stump in the first 2 tests. While Pujara and Rahane's form was also a cause of concern, the duo batted together for close to 50 overs on the 4th day. And that should keep them in good stead for the next 2 tests at least.
It was all about hanging in there. We backed each other. He told me to back my game. I told him to back his own game, whatever methods he wants to go with on. So I thought that communication was really good. We just wanted to build one good partnership. We knew that 170, 180 would have been very good score on that.
The bowlers were the real heroes in the turnaround on the 5th day, and India might go in with the same winning combination they had at the Lord's.
Start for India after the tea break. The 5th wicket is down and all of a sudden victory looms. What a delivery.
However, Captain Kohli expressed surprise over the pitch at Headingley, and with less grass on offer, Ravichandran Ashwin might get a look in for the first time this series.
As far as Ashwin playing is concerned, we're quite surprised to see the pitch the way it was. We could see a lot of the surface, which honestly I did not expect would be the case. I thought there'll be more grass on the pitch and it'll be more spicy and lively, but it wasn't the case. So yeah, anything is possible. We always name a 12 and then on the day we have a look at the pitch and what it could become on day 3, day 4, and accordingly we'll go in with the right combination.
England, on the other hand, have problems of their own, with both Dominic Sibley and Zach Crawley out.
Taken! And there you go, Polly.
Haseeb Hameed is expected to open.
Big appeal and given.
David Malan and Ollie Pope should battle it out for the number 3 spot. Mark Wood has been ruled out with a shoulder injury, and it remains to be seen who among Saqib Mahmood and Craig Overton gets the nod to replace him in the side. The last time India played a test at Headingley, they won by an innings and 46 runs. The visitors will be hoping they can replicate their predecessors from 2002 in Leeds. Sports Bureau, India Today.
On that note, I'm going to leave you right here. You could log on to indiatoday.in. You could also download our app for more. Stay tuned. News and updates coming up next.
You are watching India Today.